Kia ora. My name is Darryl Macer. I'm the President of the American University of Sovereign Nations. I'm the Director of the Bioethics Institute and also the Secretary of the Asian Bioethics Association. You can email to me and I'd be most happy to receive your questions and your comments. I'd like to consider what bioethics as a love of life means for humankind. The gift that we receive when we're born into this world is love. This is the essential human value for the 21st century, as it was for every century in the past and will be for every century in the future. While love is a gift that few are deprived of, a deprivation that in itself is an insult to the humanity that our flesh embodies, it is a norm that all forms of life are given a new life and love. The ultimate gift that we share with others is also love. If we ask people, what is love? What are the images? You might say love is friends, family, warm, God, it's happy, it's difficult. Many others. Many of these answers come from our local encounters around us. In fact, the challenges for those who have tried to work on universal love is that it's difficult to empathize with others in a distant land unless we're in contact with them. Only when they become us can they be someone we can empathize with. As Paul Tillich wrote in The Eternal Now, one cannot be strong without love, for love is not an irrelevant emotion. It is the blood of life. It is the power of the reunion of the separated. Mahatma Gandhi said that love is the strongest force the world possesses, and yet it's the humblest imaginable. The more efficient a force is, the more silent and subtle it is. Love is the subtlest force in the world. We can find various definitions of bioethics. The simplest is that bioethics is the love of life. New technology has been a catalyst for re-examination of medical ethics and social ethics and international dialogue on ethical principles. We see different expressions of professional ethics: medical ethics, dental ethics, environmental ethics, public health ethics, applied ethics, ethics of biotechnology. The history of bioethical reasoning is influenced by our genes and the forces that shaped and continue to shape these genes into the people, society and cultures that we have. We now have the power to change not only our genes, but the genes of every other organism on the planet. That great transformative power is something which may be a challenge to our values. If we focus only on the biotechnology applications as questions and examples of bioethics, however, we forget the many other relevant examples and urgent examples that affect the lives of people. We have the technology to conceive embryos in vitro. We can mix genes from different persons, different beings, and offer life support to those who have a body that's temporarily failed. In the future, we may be able to even transfer brains, and to transfer brains onto digital media, and to create artificial renditions of ourselves. New technology has certainly been a catalyst for re-examination of our thinking about bioethics and has been a stimulus for research in bioethics in the last few decades. A fundamental way of reasoning that people have when making decisions is to balance what is doing good against what is doing harm. We could group these ideals under the idea of love through the question of what is a benefit, what is a harm. These may be different for different people, and it is central to deciding whether an action is one of love or one is ethical or not. Ethics includes ideals of balancing doing good versus not doing harm. What is individual autonomy? How do we promote that? Versus considerations of the justice for all. We have a long heritage seen in biology, medicine, society, and religion. One of the great imperatives of love is the ethical principle of love and good, beneficence. It supports the development of science and technology that might cure sick people or feed hungry people. And perhaps this imperative, beneficence, is the reason for us to be doing it, all sorts of activity. Joseph Fletcher, in 1966, in a book called Situation Ethics, said, "Love is freedom to put human need before anything else." Fritz Jahr is a German who first used the term bioethics in 1927. In his paper, The Bioethical Responsibilities of Human Beings to Plants and Animals, he described the basis for bioethics. If bioethics is a bridge between cultures, how do we understand each other? How do we understand these values that make us human beings? This is another essence of this dialogue. The values could be formed by science, by society, by religion, by anthropology, by our history. If anyone has ever walked in a jungle or swum in a coral reef, the words, the strict distinction between animal and human being, dominant in our European culture up to the end of the 18th century, cannot be supported anymore, as Jahr wrote, would not only have resonated, but made us wonder what sort of world it was that tried to distinguish human beings from animals in the first place. This anthropocentrism maybe was critical for the success of short-lived dominant societies, but it's certainly not a way or a value that can sustain us in the future. So the thinkers who had a bioethical, ecocentric worldview were influenced not only by a revealed God through nature, but also by increased understanding of a biological evolution. The love of life has always been expressed by some people in each society and each religion. All around the world, people make moral decisions using a range of ideas, which are not as diverse from each other as the different etiquettes may demand. You may use a chopsticks or a spoon or your hands to eat your food, but the ethics of eating and sharing are seen not only in human beings, but also in other animals who will share food. Let's consider the pursuit of a good life or eubias. What future do we want? This is a critical question. Many children ask this question. Unfortunately, many adults don't bother to ask this question anymore. The pursuit of a good life is a goal that all persons can hope for. A good life should be understood in a holistic sense. It's clearly more than just a contented life, free of want and fear. At the international level, this is what the United Nations was established to help provide. It's also the duty of all governments to provide to their citizens, and those with the ability to help provide for those in need. All of us have this responsibility. Local wisdom provides a number of answers to the question of what a good life is. The extension of local wisdom to global love can be seen throughout history. In the words of Erich Fromm, if I truly love one person, I love all persons. I love the world, I love life. If I can say to somebody else, I love you, I must be able to say, I love in you everybody. I love for you the world. I love in you also myself. This also reminds us of a word of Mao Tzu in the 6th century BC from China. You can refer to my paper. Confucius said, to love a thing means wanting it to live. Let's consider our pre-colonial God and values. No matter what particular God you follow, if it is the all-powerful creator of the world, then by definition, God is pre-colonial. When did God reveal himself to the created? Most would agree that it's before the 19th century American, when followers of the Mormon faith would claim that God presented Joseph Smith with a set of tablets. Many would claim that it's before Moses who was presented on Mount Sinai the 10 Commandments on 2 tablets. There have been many earlier and many later saints, but just how do the major religions regard the saints and faiths of many peoples around the world? The term peoples, let me explain, means communities. It doesn't mean each individual person as a total population, but each global community. The global community is made of people of different communities, and these are the peoples. They might be Koreans, they might be Japanese, they might be Chinese, they might be Apache, they might be Navajo, they might be Zulu. These are peoples of the world. But perhaps ignorance is the most common word we can use to describe the understanding of many people by most others. Yet religious faith is common among all peoples of the world, although the details may differ. American University of Southern Nations is a construction of a new decolonized global university. I've been busy for the last 5 years working with Native American communities, and we have students from over 40 countries of the world and faculty from around the world who share together wisdom and knowledge and their values from each culture. So whether you're the Apache chief here, it's the memorial to the internment camp in San Carlos, Arizona, where many tribes people were killed. Or you are another person from Japan, following Ainu traditions. You can share together the wisdom and learn from each other. So this is one space in which we clear our values. People of different faiths can pray together on sacred mountains and lands, despite their revealed faiths coming through the wisdom of different saints. So for example, I may pray to the rising sun, whether I be an Apache, and the door of my house will be facing east where the sun comes. Or whether I'm Shinto and I'm praying to the rising sun to give me wisdom. So we have similarities, we can explore these. Traditional wisdom of indigenous people is also very critical. Knowledge for protection is wisdom of the past. This is an example of the tsunami warning stone. It is a value of protecting other life. A big wave came, many people died, don't build below the stone. Unfortunately, many people do build below the stone, they forget, and another tsunami washes their village away and kills people, and they build another stone. And the cycle goes on. But hopefully, in sustainable futures, we might be able to remember this value of saving life and try to treat each other by protecting. One of the lessons from my decade as UNESCO's regional advisor is that 2 barriers to the implementation and exploration of human values and our global understanding are fundamentalism and dogmatism. The naivety of those who think they have been given the only route to know God in a world as diverse as the one we live in is surprising to me. We can be passionate about our values and faith and should work for social justice, but simply evangelizing the other is not as valuable as trying together to understand the revealed wisdom of different traditions and how it could help us in the contemporary post-colonial world. Our common mind and human dignity. There have been many debates in almost every corner of the globe over definitions of culture, identity, and what is ethics. These social constructs all originate in our mind, a product of an individual's ontology, genes, environment, and relationships. The underlying heritage of ethics can be seen in all cultures, religions, and in ancient writings from around the world. We in fact cannot trace the origins of bioethics back to their beginning, as the relationships between human beings and nature and God are formed at an earlier stage than our history would tell us. So let's take a mental journey back in time, and just let me get changed, and let's reflect on what we see before we return to the pursuit of a good life. This is also the love of life. You can see the roots of his tree. Normally you'd imagine the roots would be under soil. The soil is washed away, but the life is clinging through the ends of the roots. And you can see here, the tree is still growing. This is amazing evidence that life doesn't give up. So there's another value, persistence, perseverance. You must never give up. That clearly is a value we need today, the same as we needed in the past. Keep on growing. Do your best. I hope that next time you feel like giving up, you imagine that tree, the persistency, living its life and loving life to live. What more can we say about values? Our common mind and human dignity. As countries have developed spaces to discuss their values, we have also seen the role of different social relations and patterns between and within cultures, an increased understanding of our views of nature. Creating such a space, such as this forum, for sharing values is critical. It is a challenge to understand this growing knowledge of human nature and life. The more we explore and understand different wisdom traditions. That heritage of a love of life can be seen in all cultures, religions and ancient writings from around the world. One of the most interesting questions before a thinking being is whether we can comprehend the ideas and thoughts of other beings, and conversely whether they can also read our mind. In terms of evolution, there could be a competitive advantage to understand other people's thinking, but also it could be of altruistic value to cooperate with others to share what they really would like to accomplish. The human mind appears to be infinitely complex and vast, but in 1994 I made a hypothesis that the number of ideas that human beings have is finite. And in 2002 I published that in the journal Nature with the Behaviorum Project. And how we can understand the way that our ideas link together to form and develop self-determination and choices is critical. Let's consider pre-colonial and post-colonial value systems. Colonization has been a major force to articulate bioethical value systems that were previously implicit in the relationships of people and nature. Along with colonization came waves of missionaries of religion or of a new global order. Anthropologists also described a number of traditions, although some sacred knowledge will not be shared from chiefs unless they entrust the person they prefer to let that knowledge die. When I was working in Samoa, this was one of the interesting revelations, because for those of us who grew up in a Western tradition, we want to understand all knowledge and would think that everyone would want to document and share it. But it's not true. In Oceania, many people have left the shores of the islands and try to understand, document different diverse traditions. We discuss among the different communities in a more articulated manner. The concept of love as a binding force resonates well with the approaches of indigenous cultures. This includes more than humans, however, with a strong love of animals towards those living together in land and water. The term in Maori, aroha, is used to denote something broader than love, including a oneness with nature and animals. Bioethics has origins in exploring human relationships with animals and nature, the oceans and land, and spirituality. Stories explaining the deeds of past generations and the symbolic nature of the landscape can be found in songs, laws, history, instruction, and social systems. It's not possible to trace the origins of bioethics back to the very beginning, because this is before our recorded history. Love is recognized both by our biological heritage, as given to humankind by our genes, but also in our social heritage, in the society as they tried to pursue harmony between individuals and communities. So we're trying to describe our views. A repository of worldviews is being set up that will evolve with different sets of ethical values from the first principles widely held within the religion or culture of that region. People or civilization are included. Once a repository is more fully developed, we can describe each tradition from the many different sources and compare. Do these similarities mean that the ethical systems are concurrent, or are they different? Ethical education through global and local dialogue and debate. What future do we want is a question which we've considered during this lecture. The pursuit of a good life is a goal that all persons can hope for. We can consider 4 imperatives of love as self-love, love of others, loving good, and loving life. Love is not only a universally recognized goal of ethical action, but also the foundation of normative principles of ethics. We have global responsibilities for promotion of good life for all, not only humankind. This is necessary for our sustainable future. A person's identity and ethic is developed based on their own and other people's opinions that grows as we face various dilemmas through our life. To have a balanced opinion from the community, it is important to hear from persons in a wide range of occupations. Also from those with a wide range of opinions, and from different cultures. Interactive ethics education allows the classroom to be a place for moral exploration and clarification of values. Yet if our education system does not allow that interaction, it's no wonder that when we get older, we don't listen and learn from each other. The common social goal to respect the moral choices of others has developed hand in hand with the emergence of increased media attention on pluralistic democracies to display the divergent views on many topics. These dialogues can show us the similarities in different traditions. It is possible that the us becomes larger as we construct the whole world. We need to promote greater dialogue between different regions of the world, separate to the export of ideas from Europe that occurred during colonial days and recently from North America, as English has become the dominant language in the globalization. We need a curriculum that can teach from many different sources. This consensus building needs to be seen more in countries that have structured paternalism that inhibits the expression of new ideas and creativity. In conclusion, our ecocentric destiny. We are a composite of more than 100 species living together. I'm Darryl, but I have more non-human cells in my body than human cells. Even if we're enjoying the tranquility of a forest, it's obvious that we need to have an ecocentric foundation for our values. We need values that will encompass all life bound together in love. Scholarship is so ingrained in the fabric of the human mind that some had considered it the image of God, as Descartes said, "I think, therefore I am." A mature society can discuss the benefits and risks of all choices and have public debate on these. The same is true in individual moral education. We need the participation of the public in societal decision-making for all questions. Beyond scholarship is the capacity to show love, and there is a common understanding of love that should be central to the dialogue between East and West, North and South, the powerful and the weak, the technophile and the technophobe. Human beings are one part of nature, closely interwoven with all species. Can we enhance all species to love? I hope so. So we have to consider this hope, the humility that all of us can share in the values. We can embrace many values, but the value of the pursuit of a greater wisdom for a better future is one that's brought us together in this forum. Please join us in these endeavors to create new universities and new spaces for dialogue to have a good life. Thank you very much.